Hey, Casper here. I wanted to share with you over the next few minutes a presentation I did at our church a few weeks ago talking about putting on God's love suit. Now, my wife Cheryl and I are Christian marriage counselors, so we do a lot of marriage coaching, and we are facilitators for marriage work groups. And I just want to, over the next few minutes, I want to go through this presentation with you. When we talk about favorite teams, the first thing people think about is a sporting event or a sporting team. It may be the recent Super Bowl champions or your local sporting team in your state. But when I want to talk about favorite teams, when I think about favorite teams, I don't think about any of that. I think about Cheryl and myself. I think about our spiritual team or things like that. I don't think about a sporting team. So let's look at love and respect alignment. And typically, if your alignment is out of whack, then your life is out of whack. And a lot of things are out of whack if your alignment is not correct. So let's talk about the correct alignment as we move forward. I have a new favorite team lineup I want to introduce you to. The first position in that lineup is God. God needs to be first in all things and first in your lineup. And then once you are aligned with God, a lot of great things start to happen for you. Now, it doesn't mean that bad things won't happen to you, but once you're in the proper alignment, you are really put yourself and your family in position for blessings. The next is self. You have to put yourself in that alignment. It is not a mandatory alignment. We all have the free will to choose, so you have to choose to be in alignment. And if you're in alignment, and if you're married, or if you have a family, then your family is able to align with you because you're in the proper alignment. So many times the head of household may have some issues going on, whether it's some type of a drug addiction or alcohol abuse or sexual abuse or what have you. They are out of alignment. So it's very difficult for family members, spouse or what have you to get in alignment if that person is out of alignment. So God, self, family. And then your neighbor. Once you and your family are in alignment with God, then you're able to reach out to other people and help them in that alignment as well. And I'm going to show you the basis for all this here in just a second in the King James Version of the Bible. And then the world. Once all these things are in alignment, a lot of good things start to happen, a lot of bad things stop happening, like all the turmoil that's happening right now in the Middle East, because most of those folks right now, unfortunately, are out of alignment, and they have a lot of turmoil going on because they're not really plugged in. Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul and with all thy mind. So that's the first alignment. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is unto the first, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. So if you have the proper love and respect for your neighbor and the world, then things fall into alignment. On these two commandments hang all the laws of the prophets. That's in Matthew 22:37 through 40. So let's look at look at the building blocks for successful relationships. First of all, you have to have the desire. What do you desire for a successful relationship for you and your spouse or you and your family? And that's important because you have to decide what you really want in that relationship. And do you have the faith for that to happen? Now, you don't need a lot of faith, but you do need to have the faith that once you are in alignment and once things are correct, then that successful relationship will happen. And what are you willing to give up? Now, sometimes this could be time, sometimes it could be a little money, but most times it's not money at all. It's really just about you getting in the proper alignment, having the proper desire and the proper faith to make it happen. You know, but you may have to give up maybe an hour of TV or something like that. And what is your plan of action? We all need a plan. We all need to be acting on a plan instead of reacting to the world and reacting to situations. You need to be acting on a plan. So what is your plan for a successful relationship? And are you modeling the world or are you modeling God? You know, I was telling some of the people at our church there are several couples at church that we can model ourselves after. Now, you don't want to look too close at those people because they're all human. However, they all, to some degree, exhibit some really good relationship habits that are something that you can study and you can emulate. Okay, so who are you modeling? Are you modeling the world, or are you modeling God? And are you happy? You know, I lived in an area several years ago before I met my wife, and in that area there were a lot of people with some disabilities. Some were blind, some were handicapped, and so forth. But it was very interesting to watch these people because for the most part they appeared happy, at least when I saw them. A lot of them worked every day, so they were at the bus stop and they're waiting for the bus to go to their work assignments, and they were really seemed really happy people. So I always imagine myself, if I had a disability, how would I act? And you know, I think that I'd be a mess, but hopefully I'd be able to rise to the occasion. But you know, are you happy? And if you're not happy, why is it? What is causing you the stress, and what is causing you to be unhappy in your particular relationship? And if it's something that you can change, change it. You have the ability to change it. Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as you have done unto one of the least of these my brethren, you have done unto me. So are you doing the proper things to the people in your life? Are you hugging your children? Are you being faithful to your wife and so forth, or your spouse? It's out of Matthew 25:40. Here's some of the challenges that happen out there. We can get into an escalation situation to where you are starting out. You know, you might be have your voice a little raised, but then it starts to escalate because the person you talk to wants to prove their point and get the raise back. So you just keep escalating up and up and up, and then it turns into a full-blown argument. Okay, that's something you need to look out for, the escalation pattern. Responding back and forth negatively with each other. Definitely want to watch out for that. Or you can look at invalidation. Now this can take many forms, but typically we wind up invalidating each other and causing more discontent in our relationships. Putting down the thoughts and opinions or character of the other person. Definitely want to watch out for invalidation. And on the invalidation scale, when you have one negative invalidating comment, it takes a lot of positive comments to counteract that one negative comment. So you have to really work on filling up your partner's love bank, and I'm going to get into that here in just a moment. But it takes a lot of positives to outweigh one negative comment, so you want to watch your negative comments. Then we have withdrawal. This is something we all kind of get into after a while when we really aren't paying attention to what the other person is saying, and after a while we just kind of go into this quiet place to where we just don't respond to each other anymore. This is where you have unwillingness to get into or stay with the important discussion issues that are going on between two people. And then we have negative interpretations. Now this is one of the traps that I fall into a lot, and I have to really work at avoiding negative interpretations. This lady is waiting for her friend to get there, and said, you know, maybe he's stuck in traffic. But then after a while, that's the positive side. But then after a while, the negative side starts to creep in, depending on how late the person is. And then she may be thinking, he's just doing this to upset me. That's a negative way. So you have the positive and the negative, and you get to choose which way you interpret all things that happen. Making a negative and unfair assumption about what your partner was thinking. That's negative interpretation. So let's talk about putting on God's love suit. We're going to talk about your love bank. We're going to talk about the 4 C's. We're going to talk about the 3 keys. We're going to talk about the speaker-listener technique. We're going to talk about his needs, her needs. We're going to talk about your love suit. Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things. Those things which ye have both learned and received and heard, seen in me do, and the God of peace shall be with you. That's out of Philippians. Become aware of each other's emotional needs and learn how to meet them. Similar to the 5 love languages, you need to know what your spouse's needs are and make an effort to meet them. When our love banks become empty, the opportunity for someone else to start making deposits grows. And these external deposits can gain a foothold and lead to affairs in our relationships. Now, some may look at this as a lot of work, but if done correctly, it will bring great joy and excitement to your relationships. I enjoy pleasing my wife, and I would hope she enjoys pleasing me. The way to affair-proof your relationship is to make sure your spouse's love bank is full at all times. Make sure the transactions you make are deposits and not withdrawals. Let's look at the 4 C's. The first C is Christ, and I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. The second C is control, and it's not controlling the situation, it's self-control. If you can exhibit self-control when you're out in public, or self-control when you're at work or in a professional environment, you surely can exhibit self-control when it comes to the people that are closest to you. Okay, your loved ones in your life, surely you can exhibit some self-control with these people. The next C is communication. And these are skills you can learn, and we have a lot of good communication skills. If you go to IamLoveBuilders.com, that's my wife and I's website, we have a lot of great tools that you can access there for free. And then the last C is compromise. It's not important to win every battle. I pick and choose my battles wisely, and for the most part, it's not important to win every battle, because if you win, that means somebody else loses. And if you are, if you're dealing with your spouse, and you and your spouse are supposed to be one. So if you win and your spouse loses, then you have also lost. So just pick your battles wisely. You know, is it important? Think about the things you're discussing and the things that you're fighting over, and how important are they in the grand scheme of things. Really just think about those things before you get into those conflicts. So let's look at the 3 keys. The first key is to decide, don't slide. In other words, decide to have a good relationship. Decide that you're going to have a great conversation with your spouse. Decide that you're going to discuss things before you make any major decisions. Make that decision, and that's very, very important. And then make it safe to connect. I have some couples that we have counseled in the past, and the husband would, when the wife would come to the husband with a discussion, he would blow up at her. So instead of him making it safe to connect, he made it unsafe for her to mention anything. So consequently, she stopped saying anything, and they just drifted further and further apart. So make it safe to connect. When your spouse reaches out to you, when your loved one reaches out to you, don't snap at them. Listen to what they're saying and try to understand their point of view. And do your part. You know, just do your part in the relationship. Don't be the part of the relationship that's failing. Be the functional part of the relationship. And do not be unfaithful and waste the talents you have been given. This is out of Matthew 24. Who then is faithful and wise servant, whom his Lord has made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season? So I want to talk about a technique you can use for effective communication. This is rules for speaker-to-listener technique. The speaker speaks for yourself. Don't mind read. Keep statements brief. Don't go on and on and on, and stop to let the listener paraphrase. The listener paraphrase what you heard, focus on the speaker's message, and do not rebut the speaker's comments. And both people, the speaker has the floor, the speaker keeps the floor while the listener paraphrases, and then you share the floor. It's important to go back and forth and have a very meaningful dialogue between the two of you without escalating and without invalidation and without the negative interpretations and without withdrawing. So how do you paraphrase? What you would say is something like this. So what I hear you saying is, so from your point of view, it sounds like you are, let me see if I get this. You feel those are paraphrases. Now in this talk I was talking to mostly men, so I was covering mostly her needs, so that's what this is referring to. The first thing she cannot do without is affection. When we show our wives affection, we send the following messages. I'll take care of you and protect you. I'm concerned about the problems you face. I think you've done a good job, and I'm proud of you. Other ways to show affection are opening the car door for her, holding hands, walks after dinner, back rubs, phone calls throughout the day, and real conversations all add units to their love bank. Now I want to caution the men, most of men equate affection with sex, but they are very different. However, a woman who feels affection for her man is more likely to enjoy the sexual experience much more. And remember, when it comes to sex and affection, you can't have one without the other. She needs him to talk to her. She needs conversation, a meaningful conversation, not one ear listening to her and one ear watching the game. Put the game on pause, or put it on record, or turn it down, or what have you, or turn it off, and pay attention to your spouse's conversation. She needs to trust him totally, honestly, and openly. Be honest and open with your spouse. I try to do this all the time. I try to let her know when things are going on that could cause drama in our relationship, because I have a past life and past I have children from a previous marriage, so all those things could creep into our current marriage and our current situation. So I always try to inform her when I have conversations that could go left, or anything about the children stuff. I always try to keep my wife up to speed on all that. Now he needs a good-looking wife, an attractive spouse. This is important because your body is your physical temple. You need to treat it like one. So if you have respect for your church or your synagogue or wherever you worship, if you have respect for that location, you should also have respect for your body in the same regard. Your body is your physical temple. So make sure you treat your body well. Make sure you consume things that are healthy for your body. Make sure you do not consume things that are not healthy. Most of this is common sense. If you're smoking, stop. I used to smoke many years ago, and I quit, and it wasn't even a question of any kind of a step down period. Once I decided that I didn't want to smoke anymore, or I wasn't going to smoke anymore, I just stopped. Okay, so smoking is not healthy for your body, and it doesn't calm your nerves. You have trained yourself and trained your body that that's what happens, but that is not what happens. All you have to do, if that's the case, the very first time you lit up a cigarette and took a puff, the very first time, if your body reacted calmly to that situation, then I would maybe think that you were correct. But I'll venture to say, every person that I've ever asked this question to, if you think about the very first time you took a hit on a cigarette, your body reacted violently to that. You probably coughed, you probably gagged, you probably did all kinds of things, and you had to work at training your body to accept this foreign material. And because of that, over time, your body gives up and decides, okay, fine, if you're going to do that, let's go ahead and do it. But again, the first time you lit up that cigarette and took a puff, it was not an easy situation for you. I almost guarantee it, because that's what happened with me. The first puff I took, I almost killed myself. I felt like I was killing myself. But over time, I got used to it, and then it became a habit. Okay, so again, smoking, drinking, so forth, just do things in moderation. And smoking, don't do it all. She needs enough money to live comfortably for financial support. It's important for your wife to feel that you got it. Now, in today's society, with all the things going on, with the food prices going up, gas prices going up, all these things have a negative effect on a household. Understood. So a lot of times we have two income earner families and so forth, but she needs to know, even if she's working out of the house and you're working out of the house, she needs to know that when it's time to pay the bills, you are going to participate in that activity. And he needs peace and quiet, domestic support. I always appreciated being able to come home and have a tranquil household, have things calm, things in order, children doing what they're supposed to be doing, and so forth. So that's really important for his needs, to have a domestic support. But she needs him to be a good father, family, and committed. She needs to know that he's going to be there. He's not going to run off at the first sign of a pretty dress or pretty face or what have you. He needs to know that she needs to know that he's going to be there and committed. So let's look at your love suit. When we look at the word love, L stands for love. Okay, and I like my pastor's definition of love. He says love is meeting someone else's need at your expense. Now that's really a serious definition of love. O stands for obedience. And who are you being obedient to? You're being obedient to that alignment. Okay, you're being obedient to God first of all, and to yourself. Okay, so you're being obedient to that alignment. And then V stands for vigilant. You're being vigilant because the enemy is out to kill, steal, and destroy. And if you're not vigilant and paying attention, there will be enemy issues that will creep into your relationships, into your household, into your family, into your situations. So you need to be vigilant. You need to be watchman or watch person of your relationships and of your household. And E stands for effort and encourager. Effort, make the effort. And be the encourager in your household. Be the encourager for your children. Be the encourager for your spouse. Be the encourager for your friends and for your family. Be the one that's always giving that encouragement. And then when you look at the 4 C's, of course, we talked about these before. We have Christ, self-control, we have communication, and we have compromise. And then when you look at the 3 keys, we have decide, don't slide, make it safe to connect, and do your part. And when you add all that up, when you have love plus the 4 C's plus the 3 keys, that equals God's love suit. Now here are some great marriage relationship habits to form. Hug and kiss your wife every morning while you are still in bed. Tell her that you love her while you are having breakfast together. Kiss her before you leave for work and when you get home. Call or text her during the day to see how she's doing. Bring or send her flowers once in a while as a surprise. Be sure to include a card that says something like just because. I told my wife when we got married that I wasn't going to do anything on Valentine's Day because that's a man-made situation and it's just too confining and it doesn't even make sense. Okay, one day out of the year I need to show her that I love her. I show my wife I love her every day. Every day is Valentine's Day for us. We've been married for 8 years plus, have not had one argument. Not one argument in that entire 8 years. We've had a couple of disagreements off and on, but nothing major at all. Never to the point that we didn't want to hug and kiss each other. Never to the point that we had to sleep in separate rooms or anything like that. So send her something and send it to her work, and send it and put on the card something like just because. Not because it's Valentine's Day, not because it's her birthday, not because it's Christmas or anything like that, just because. Wear matching colors as often as you can. My wife and I still do this after 8 years, and we actually have a silent ministry going on at church because people are always wondering, are we going to be matching today? And I passed someone the other day at church as we were leaving. He says, I see you guys are still matching. That's great. So, you know, it's like a silent ministry going on, and it also helps with the communication because you have to communicate what you're going to be wearing for the day. After work, call her and let her know you are leaving for home. Always let your spouse know where you are, especially if you're going to be running late or if you're running behind or what have you. Ask her about her day and pay attention to the answer. This is important. A lot of times we ask questions and we really don't want to hear the answer because we're busy and we're trying to get some other things done, but really pay attention to the answer. And help with the dishes after dinner. You know, when in the Christian Bible, when you look at the first beginnings of man, well, man started with Adam, of course. Adam was tending the garden. Eve was not there at first, so Adam had to do everything. It was Adam's job to tend the garden, and Eve was created to be his helpmate. Well, nowadays, Eve does the dishes maybe a lot, or you have a dishwasher or what have you, or Eve cooks and so forth. But it's really Adam's responsibility to make sure that that gets done. And if Eve can't do it, Adam needs to do it. So helping with the dishes after dinner and helping with the clothes and so forth. In fact, as I'm recording this, because I work out at a house in my own business, I'm actually running the clothes washer. Okay, so I'm washing clothes today because I'm at the house and I can do that off and on as I'm doing other things. So it's important for Adam to take care of his house. Hug and kiss her every night before you both go to sleep. Shower and bathe together as often as possible. This can be sexual, but not necessarily. It's just a question of you guys coming together and doing something, grooming each other, being close, and a oneness that you can have. It doesn't have to lead to sex, but it could, you know, and it's all good. Groom each other as often as possible. Wash each other's hair, shave each other, and so forth. You know, again, this is a helps you come together, be as one. Open her door and send her gifts on non-holidays. I talked about this earlier, but it's more important to send something on a non-holiday than it is to send something on a holiday. In fact, I don't even respond to Valentine's Day anymore. I tell my wife every day is Valentine's Day, so I try to do something for her every day that I can. And Adam, before you take care of the world, take care of your garden and your home. Hey, I want to thank you for your time. I hope you got something out of this presentation, and you have a blessed day. We'll see you on the inside.